What's up, guys? I'm Micah.
And I'm Matt, and today we're checking out Army of the Dead.
The movie was directed by Zack Snyder and stars Dave Bautista, Ella Purnell, and Ana de la Reguera. The movie starts out with a newly married couple, and basically they're just driving down the highway near Las Vegas, and they end up getting in a head-on collision with an army convoy who's carrying an unknown payload. And basically that payload in the army convoy is destroyed along with the married couple. And I guess a few of the army members survive, and they end up radioing headquarters to tell them that everyone died. And then the headquarters tell them, you need to get away from the payload. But then obviously, because of movie tropes, the guys walk over to the payload and realize a huge zombie jumps up. And it's different compared to most zombies who might be a little slower. They're called shamblers, and they basically walk at a snail's pace pretty much. And then this zombie, I guess specifically, is more infected. It seems to be, I guess, maybe more half human, half zombie. It's pretty intelligent, and yeah, it seems like just a huge brute. And basically that's how the movie starts, and this zombie infects two of the remaining army guys, and then they make their way to Las Vegas.
Yeah, this led into a huge, I thought, in my opinion, it was a really cool intro montage to show how everyone got infected, and basically the whole of Las Vegas from these army guys got totally infected, and it caused all these people to go in there and want to, I don't know if they're doing it for sport or for money, but they're trying to, I guess all the armies in the world and central powers are trying to get rid of all these zombies, but they kept failing over and over again. This montage is really cool. It's done really well. I usually don't like montages, but this one I think was put off quite well. It basically ends with Las Vegas being sealed off with this huge wall around it, so all the zombies are in there. So I thought it was a cool montage. What about you?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that that's like the classic Snyder, like slowed down scenes, like sequence, like montage scenes added with like the music. I can't remember what was playing at the beginning. I don't know if it was like an Elvis song or something like that, but it was like some sort of song related to Las Vegas. And then it introduces the characters that I guess were in Vegas. I don't know if they were hired at the beginning to go in and take out, or not take out, but like rescue a few people that were still in Las Vegas and needed to get out. So it kind of, that's how the movie starts. This movie feels like a classic Snyder film with heavy action scenes and lots of good gore and everything too. Can you kind of explain more of the plot?
Yeah, this movie, before I get into the plot, this movie, the type of movie this is, it's almost like 2 or 3 movies put together. So of course we've all seen like bank heist movies, like Ocean's 11. We've all seen zombie movies. There's, hundreds of them out by now. But imagine putting those two together to make this movie. This is a zombie bank heist movie, and maybe even a love story movie at some points. So it's like a romance bank heist zombie movie. Quite the weird genres. So essentially this leads into the main characters of Dave Bautista and the whole gang who gets rehired from their early days of quarantining or killing all the zombies in the quarantine zone in Vegas. And they get rehired to do essentially a heist to lift $200 million US from this one casino. I think it was called Bly's Casino. And if they take this guy who hired them will take 150 of the million, and they'll get the other 50 million to split between whoever they feel, their team.
Basically, there's a character named Mr. Tanaka who hires the team, and I guess Dave Bautista's character, Scott Ward, to break into this safe in one of the hotels, and basically he needs to hire a team. So he's got to get the safe cracker, and he has to also get a pilot. And basically what they have to do, the team has to go down to the hotel and basically kill any zombies that they encounter. And in order to get to the safe cracker, they need to have obviously someone who can crack the safe, and they need to have someone who can pilot a helicopter. So basically once they get down to that hotel, there's a helicopter waiting, but this person needs to be able to operate it so they can get out. So as long as they can actually fully get the money and kill the zombies and actually get out on the helicopter, then they'll get the money.
One of the huge plot points too, it's right at the beginning, so it's not a spoiler at all, but essentially the US government has voted to nuke entirely the Vegas, the quarantine zone, to put a nuke in there and kill all the zombies. So there's a deadline for robbing this casino that's in the quarantine zone. I think it's 3 days, and then Mr. Tanaka tells them, okay, you have 3 days from today to get this casino, get the money, and get out, and that's more than enough time. But of course, 3 days, if something goes wrong, like maybe they'll get nuked. So that's a very major plot point of the movie.
One thing I found really funny too is when they were seeing, I think, that information on the news, something, I think it was like implied that it was Trump, potentially.
Stay on point, Donald, stay on point.
Wait, was it?
Yeah, because it was like the news anchor was saying, and the president said it was very cool.
I did want to talk about the zombies and the zombie types they had in this movie. Most zombie movies kind of follow one zombie type, where like in The Walking Dead, that show, the zombies are just literally straggling along. They're just like broken limbs and legs and everything and just hobbling along. Other movies like 28 Days Later, they're full on like adrenaline fueled, like looks like they did a bunch of meth and just took off running. So there's usually one or the other. This movie was really good because there was actually two kinds of zombies, which it explains really early on in the movie. They call them the Shamblers, which are the Walking Dead style. Then there's I don't know if they even call them something, but the more advanced ones that almost had like super zombie powers where they could move fast. They were almost half human. And they were quite advanced, and they definitely raised the stakes quite a bit for the main characters. What do you think about them?
Yeah, they were cool. Like, especially when I was watching the movie, I didn't think it would be like a zombie type like that. I was thinking more like Walking Dead, like those boring zombies that don't do anything. Like the only way that you can die from them is if that's like a huge amount of them. But yeah, it was cool to see that they were almost more human-like, and they had, I guess, maybe raised more of an army, I guess. It was cool to see that, yeah, like I mentioned, there was more, I guess, variety, because I think it almost reminded me, maybe not like the same as World War Z, but like, you know, I think they called them more infected, where they were like running around and they had superhuman speed, and they were like dodging bullets in the movie. Like people are trying to shoot them and they're just dodging them the whole time.
I found the VFX was really good in this movie for the most part, and the gore was done really good as well. I find a lot of these new movies are doing gore almost maybe it's the same visual effects company, but I noticed a lot of the gore, I don't know if you felt this way, but like between the movies we watched recently, like Mortal Kombat, I don't know if you watched the Netflix film Love, Death and Robots. It's like a series. This film, like when a character gets shot, it's like the character gets shot and then just blood just goes boom and just goes everywhere. It's like the same really gory, really nasty, but well done visual effects. What do you feel about the gore?
They did a really good job. It's, I guess, more real to life about what would probably happen, especially with these. They had like all these submachine guns and pistols and stuff, and just shooting all these zombies. And I guess one thing we should have explained too is, for most zombie movies, you actually have to shoot them in the head. But there's some video games and some movies where you can just shoot them or do anything and they'll die. But in this movie, you have to shoot them in the head to kill them, which is a main thing too.
I thought that's one of the maybe tough points of the movie, I felt, because it has, in my opinion, Walking Dead syndrome with the kills. For, like you said, everyone has to get shot basically for this. Hello. And then give her some back scratches now. This movie had a few plot points that I really disliked, and I felt that the daughter of Dave Bautista's character, Scott Ward, in this movie was really annoying in my opinion. I felt that they shoehorned her in there to throw that, you know, kind of family emotional feel for people to connect and say, hey, you know, this guy's human, there's some family relationships building here. Because the daughter and father in this movie, they're estranged. There was some turmoil in the family's past that had happened, and they kind of went their separate ways. And the daughter makes a bunch of stupid choices in this movie that just keeps going and going and spiraling into this huge negative story spiral, I'd say. What do you feel about it?
I do agree with you. I think that is actually a problem with a lot of Snyder films. I don't know if he wrote a lot of it, but I think he had a few writers, but obviously he directed it. But I think some of the problems with his movies is he doesn't write characters to be maybe human enough, or I guess connect on more of an emotional level, because he's always so worried about like the action scenes, and those are the main reasons why people watch Snyder movies for sure. And yeah, it kind of just felt like Scott's daughter was kind of thrown in to be a plot device, and she made a lot of dumb decisions like you mentioned, and maybe Snyder just wanted to throw her in to be more of a, I guess, just a way to connect with the audience like you mentioned.
It did bring a, I guess, playing devil's advocate here, even though maybe we didn't like that to an extent, maybe it does bring an aspect to a zombie movie where you can't have everything go perfectly right, and she was basically the rogue aspect of the movie that kind of made characters go different directions to try to fix her choices that she made in the movie. So maybe it was that aspect to say, hey, this is a dark movie at the end of the day, even though there was some comedy, there was a few wholesome moments, there was a lot of gore and a lot of killing going on, but she kind of made everything, I guess in the grand scheme, that's led to a very, in my opinion, a grim ending.
And that kind of leads on to our next point, which is acting, which, I mean, I think a few characters left much to be desired for acting in the movie, but I think the one thing I did want to mention that was a really positive in this movie was Dave Bautista's acting. I think out of all the wrestlers turned actors, he's probably the best in terms of what he was doing, and you actually felt like you connect with him on an emotional level, and his acting is not like cold or stone-faced or anything like that, like maybe John Cena or The Rock. The Rock is like one of the biggest actors in Hollywood, but I don't think he's really that good. But Dave Bautista has been in a few things. Like, he didn't get to really showcase his acting chops in Guardians of the Galaxy, but I think one of the main ones was his acting in Blade Runner. And he said that kind of catapulted him to get more roles. So I'm hoping with this Army of the Dead movie, Dave Bautista gets more roles as well.
Yeah, he's definitely shown his acting chops. He's a diverse actor, and I agree with what you said there. I think all the other wrestlers turned actors like John Cena and especially The Rock, like they know what they're trying to do and they're successful at that. Whereas Dave Bautista, I think he's actually very diverse. He has a lot of range and he's willing to do more serious movies rather than be that huge action star, like The Rock, who makes movies that aren't great, but when you watch a Rock movie, you know what you're getting into. Where Dave Bautista, you're like, he can be serious, he can be funny, he can do everything. In this movie, he carried it. Like he was a main actor in this movie.
Yeah, they needed more of a, I guess, main character to carry the movie, like you mentioned. But I guess maybe the one thing I didn't like about a few of the other characters' acting was just it seemed a little bit too stale, if that makes sense. Like the safecracker character, he had a lot of like almost one-liners and he was trying to be funny in certain points. The one thing I wish they did a little bit better was that, like, kind of incorporating like maybe funnier scenes, but then there's also like so many serious tones to the movie, and then they just throw in a one-liner or something like that. And I think with a lot of the actors, like the smaller actors, they were more maybe B-list actors or I don't know, C-list actors. I hadn't heard of like too many of them, but yeah, there was a lot of choice acting, and you could kind of tell, like, I think there's a few maybe actresses and actors that had, what was that one character? She had like the blonde hair, and I don't know if she was trying to do an accent or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The one named Coyote who would take people into the quarantine
Yeah.
zone, that one?
Like, was she trying to do an accent, or was that her actual accent? Because it was slipping like throughout.
Oh, really? I think she just had an accent in the movie at least, but
Yeah.
she was supposed to be like one of the badass women in the movie. And then, like you said, the safecracker named Dieter, he was definitely the comic relief. Like, his whole character was just one-liner after one-liner, trying to be the funny guy to break tension. So it does suck that, they can't make some of the characters maybe more normal. They always have to just throw them into a trope. Be like, hey, this is the guy who does comic relief. This is the badass character. This is this character. It's just the only character really had a range was maybe Dave Bautista's character.
I wonder if like studio execs just sit around in a room and just decide, like, we need the comic relief in this movie. Like, if someone's pitching a story to them and they say we need someone that's funny, it's like with Marvel movies, they always throw in some weird, like they're doing some super serious stuff and then they just throw in some cheesy like one-liner scene.
I think Marvel does it right though in that regards. Like, yeah, they do have a bit much for the comic relief, but every character is developed quite a bit because they'll get their own movies and they have quite a bit going on. So I think Marvel does it well, whereas these kind of movies, it's like a one-off movie and they just pigeonhole all these characters like, this is who you are, this is who you're going to be.
Another one I wanted to mention that I thought was probably the worst acting in the movie was the pilot character. Like, that was just a complete throwaway. I don't know if you agree with me, but like some of the ways she delivered her lines, I was like, are you serious? Like, you're an actor and you're doing it this way? Like, oh man. I don't know if you agree with me.
I'm sure they're actually a good actor, but I agree. I think they wrote her character to be this really cringy, just comic relief character as well. Just like like you're saying, every scene, just like when you're trying to start up this helicopter, he's just like, come on, just nonstop. It's just so cringe. Any final thoughts that you had on the movie?
Yeah, this movie was a pleasant surprise for me. I actually really liked it, besides a few little minor things, but that's not going to stop me from enjoying a movie like this. And kind of like we talked about, Dave Bautista really, I guess, brought this movie forward, and he kind of turned the movie into something better than it would have been if it was some other crappy actor. And obviously, if you like Zack Snyder films, you're going to enjoy this movie. And I think he really, obviously the formula is still there for Zack Snyder films. He did lots of like sequences and slow montages with the slowed down, I guess, and then sped up scenes as well. And the one thing we didn't talk too much about is the music in the movie, which actually I think was a good positive point too as well. So yeah, if you like Snyder films, you like good action and the acting is pretty adequate, and you like a good story, I think you'll like the movie.
Yeah, definitely. If you're okay with gore and you like zombie movies, definitely check it out. I think a zombie movie fan would really like this kind of movie. Thanks for watching, everyone.
If you have any movies you'd like us to check out, let us know in the comments section down below.